Pizza and Podcast, Johnny and Christian and Johnny, however you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. It's
Jacob, Israel, whatever.
Dude, that got annoying. Did it annoy you as much as it annoyed me?
It doesn't annoy me, but it's weird.
No, it annoyed. If you're gonna change the name, then keep it the new name. Don't flip flop every other verse.
There are tons of literally every other.
Dude,
verse.
I know.
So I'm like, is it his character? Like sometimes he's still acting in his old ways. Sometimes he's a new person. I don't know.
Maybe it's the context. Maybe when they're referring to Joseph, he's Israel, and when they refer to the rest
Jacob?
of the rest of his brothers, Joseph. Like when it's in regards to Joseph, maybe they call him Israel, and then when it's in regards to his brothers, he's Jacob. I don't know. That's completely made up, but it's annoying.
Can we eat pizza now?
Yeah. So part 2 of
Joseph.
the story of Joseph, and it's a good one. But we'll do a quick recap. Part 1: Joseph has 11 brothers through many
4
different
women.
mothers. Yeah. His father, Jacob/Israel, favored him. In a nutshell, his brothers didn't like it, sold him into slavery. He ended up in Egypt as a slave to Potiphar, who was one of the top dogs, worked his way up, became in charge. Pharaoh had a dream. Joseph interpreted it. Egypt's going to have 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. So Joseph tells him, hey, over these next 7 years of abundance, we're going to store up all the grain, and that way, we'll be able to make it through the famine. And that was basically Genesis 37 to 41 chapters. So we're going to cover the rest of Joseph's story in Genesis 42 to the end of the book, which is, I believe, chapter 48. But
50.
Is it 50? Bonus chapters?
You don't have the bonus chapter?
Maybe my mechanics Bible doesn't have the last 2 chapters. I don't know. But yeah, so that's where we are. Joseph is in charge. The famine hits Egypt, and then the story begins. But before the famine hits, the abundance of this pizza is going to come into play, because there is definitely no shortage on this bad boy. Mm-hmm. This is
when can
goodness.
I eat it?
Huh?
When can I eat it?
We're going to eat it right after I figure out how to describe it. It's a barbecue pizza, but it's barbecued bacon bourbon pizza with bacon, grilled chicken,
bacon,
roasted turkey, cheddar, mozz, caramelized onions, and some Italian seasoning. All made from scratch. So we're going to give this bad boy a try, and then we'll get into
Whenever I hear the term made from scratch, like the way my brain works, like images come with words. So I think it's scratch. I'm like, it just
scratched it.
Make something like, and it's there.
Well, dig in. Go ahead.
I'm allowed to eat now.
Let's see what we got here. What do we got? You think there's gonna be leftovers? No,
I don't think so. We'll see.
It's a pretty far distance from the pizza of many colors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we have the pizza of many flavors.
Yeah. I might just skip this whole podcast and just eat.
There's a famine in the land now. Joseph is in charge. He is selling all of the grain that he stored up over the last 7 years. Joseph's father, Jacob/Israel, sends 10 of his brothers to Egypt to go buy grain. He has 11 brothers, but Joseph's father keeps Benjamin home. Benjamin was the youngest of the brothers, and he was Joseph's legit, full brother from Rachel. So that's why they were both kind of favored. So the dad was trying to...
So Isaac didn't want him to die.
Isaac didn't want him to die. I wonder if he gave him a coat.
That's a good question.
Right?
Or he just had one coat. Like one blessing, one coat.
You think he gave him the bloodied coat?
No, they tore it up. So was he worried he was going to die because it was Rachel's kid and it was like, oh, Rachel's kids are cursed? Or is it like someone didn't like Rachel's kid, so they're not going to write this other Rachel's kid? Or did he know the brothers were... did he have... some thoughts the brothers could know a little bit more than they're saying?
I don't think any of that.
None of it?
No, I don't think...
Why did he keep Benjamin?
I don't think he thought the other brothers would get rid of this one,
Why not just send Benjamin? Why was he so afraid of him not coming back?
I think for 2 reasons. One, Egypt, you never knew what you were going to get, because the Pharaoh can do whatever he wants. But 2, Benjamin was the youngest, so he could have been 12 years old for all we know. So he could have been a little boy. And he's like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're way too young. We're going to let your older brothers.
I wonder if there's a way we could find out. There probably is. Because it probably says, this many years of fame and this many years Rachel died, go in here and...
Let's break it down. Joseph was 17 when his brothers sold him into slavery.
Mm-hmm. And he's 30 when he's in charge.
He's 30 when he's in charge. Benjamin wasn't around.
7 years of abundance.
Benjamin was not around when Joseph was sold into slavery.
Yeah, he was.
He was born then?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Rachel already had him and died.
Rachel didn't die before Joseph went into slavery.
Yeah.
She dies on the road, but Joseph wasn't around when she died. He was in Egypt. Yes, yes.
Okay, so he goes into Egypt in Genesis 37.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel dies in Genesis 35.
Really?
Yeah.
You think she could have had Benjamin after that still?
I guess so, but I don't think so. Because it talks about like where they are.
So she had Benjamin when Joseph was in Egypt?
No, she had Benjamin before that.
How do you know? She could have him after that. She died giving childbirth.
Yes.
That's right. So was that to Benjamin?
Yes.
Okay, now it's piecing together. Okay. Let's assume he was born before Joseph went to Egypt. Joseph was in Egypt 13 more years before he got in charge.
Correct. And then 7 of
Which
abundance.
means his Benjamin would have been at least 13 years old.
And then 7 of abundance.
So another
20.
20. So he was old enough. So Jacob keeps Benjamin behind and says, hey, other 10 brothers, go to Egypt and get grain. So they go to Egypt. They go to Joseph because Joseph was the one selling grain to everyone in the whole land. They bow down to him, and then they don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. How do you think that went? Like, how would he recognize them, but they don't recognize him? Just because
He's shaved.
Just because of his position?
Mm-hmm. When he first got there, they made him shave his head. And if he's in charge, he's probably all decorated out. Probably makeup, like Egyptian makeup.
You think he was dressed like the guy in The Mummy, the movie?
You think I know what the guy looked like? I think I do know that. He looked like a pharaoh, like a typical pharaoh, yeah?
He was bald.
With the makeup?
And
Yeah.
He had like the...
And he had muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we know
He had
Joseph had.
muscles. Yeah. Maybe they based that character off of Joseph. Spoiler alert, he becomes a mummy.
Spoiler alert.
Mega spoiler alert.
That's true though, he does.
Yeah. So Benjamin's second favorite. And we're taught we're not supposed to have favorites. I think favorites are natural.
Parents have favorites.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
This bitch is great.
You heard it here first. Parents have favorites.
Some parents might have favorites.
Yeah. I think there's probably favorites of different ways people are favorited in different situations. Like overall, sometimes I feel like a favorite, but then there's other times I'm like, this person's probably the favorite in this area of whatever's going on.
I would agree with that. Like, it depends on the situation, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going hunting, then the kid who can sit the quietest and the longest is probably going to be your favorite for hunting. Mm-hmm. If you're going to war, the kid who can fight the best is going to be your favorite.
Probably the same person hunting. So you just have one favorite.
You would.
Every situation just matches the same person.
But yeah, Benjamin was definitely the favorite. So Joseph recognizes them, but I like how it says that he was talking harshly to them, like accusing them of being spies. Like, you're spies, you're coming here to check out the land. And they're like, no. They said we're 12 sons of the same man.
One of them's
Which
dead.
is interesting. Did they say one of them's dead?
Yes.
Were they referring to Joseph?
Yes.
But they knew he wasn't dead.
I guess they just assume, like, oh, he could be dead as a spy. But Reuben
No,
thinks he's dead. So I think they're keeping up for Reuben also.
You think they're keeping up with this lie the whole time?
Yes.
No way. No way.
Verse 13, we, your servants, were 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no longer living.
Why would they think that when they know
I don't
they
think
sold Joseph into slavery? That doesn't mean he's dead.
So later, shortly after, Reuben replies to his brothers, didn't I tell you not to harm the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must account for his blood. Reuben thinks he's dead this whole time.
So the other 9 brothers were lying to him.
Yeah.
Why? Would he have, told on him?
Maybe, because he's trying to make things right. Because he did the one bad thing.
Well, when they were having that conversation, Joseph had a translator with him, so he could actually tell what they were saying.
Yeah.
And then he cried.
But he just turned around and wept. And he just turned back again.
Yeah. I don't know how you can do that discreetly.
Like, all right.
Was it then that he held them
So
captive? Yeah, he asked them. He said, "Where's your other brother then?" And they said, like, he was referring to Benjamin. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Well, our dad kept him back. He's back home."
Yeah.
So then Joseph says, if you want me to believe that you're not spies, go get him.
Bring him.
And bring him back. But he kept Simeon, right? Because he kept them all captive.
He kept them all for 3 days.
3 days.
I think it should be like, hey, you put me in this place, I'm going to show you what it's like. I'll hold you guys captive too.
Do you think that? Or do you think they were like captive where they're just eating all of the palace food and got the comfy
They're
Egyptian
just locked in a
cotton
mansion.
beds? Yeah. Like, how do you... They weren't imprisoned. They were just...
It said a guardhouse, I think.
So he kept them for 3 days, and then he did bind up Simeon, though. It says that they bound him up and then sent the other brothers home.
He had them bound before their eyes.
Yeah, he made sure
so
that
they watched.
Yeah. Do you think Simeon was the one that started the whole thing, like back in the day when Joseph got...
It's possible. Because later on it mentions that him and someone else, maybe Levi, him and someone were like violent and like they got angry.
It was Judah, I thought.
No.
It wasn't?
No. It was part of the blessings later on and they were together. Judah got his own blessing. It's in freaking chapter 49.
I remember what you're talking about though.
I think Simeon's one of them. So he could be. He could have been one of the ringmasters.
So now every time I hold my drink, I always think I'm like talking to you got me like from the first one when I had my mug. So the 9 other brothers go back home. How far was Egypt from Canaan?
I don't know.
Can you look that up really quick?
Yes.
I wanna see. I'm gonna grab my Bible real quick.
613 kilometers.
613 kilometers?
Yeah, I don't know what a kilometer
Can you convert that into...
Is that like a... I know, like rulers like that.
I think it's
like...
3/4 of an inch on the map.
I'm just going to retype my
Here's
question
Egypt.
and hope it tells me the miles. About 250 miles. Well, now this one says 400 kilometers.
Well, which is it? Bro, just Google Earth that junk and you'll be able to see it.
I don't know where Canaan is today. It's a different name.
It's a different name?
I'm pretty sure. Is it not?
I don't know.
When's the last time you heard of Canaan? And anything other than the Bible?
0. I haven't heard of it.
You got a map.
Yeah, but it has Egypt, but it doesn't have...
Canaan.
Canaan must have been south. Because my map only goes north. So either way, let's assume it's 250 miles. Or whatever. It's pretty far.
It's a whole
250
gas tank for some people.
250
I got
miles.
400.
In a car would take 4 hours.
So it's not too bad.
Roughly. Little over 4 hours.
So just all hop in. Well, 12 people in a car or 10 people in a car. They got to get a bus.
But they weren't driving. They had what? Donkeys and camels?
Yeah.
Okay, so a car driving 60 miles an hour would take a little over 4 hours.
So a camel.
So a camel, which...
Or just walking on foot.
Walking.
Or both.
You're talking 2 to 4 miles per hour. I mean, you're talking weeks.
Yeah.
So Simeon is in custody and bound for weeks. That's just one way.
Yeah.
So then they go home. They tell Jacob everything that happened. Oh, and when they stop before they leave, Joseph gives them all this food. He fills all their bags with grain and everything else. So he treats them nice. And then he tells them, he sneaks their money back in their bags.
Yeah.
Well, his steward? Mm-hmm. Is that it? The steward? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The guy that was doing stuff for him around the house.
Yeah.
Puts the money back in their bag. So then the first night when they stop to feed the donkeys, they open their bag and they see that they still have their money. So then it says that they were struck with terror. Mm-hmm.
They're afraid.
Why would you be afraid? I'd be like, oh, awesome.
Well, I was
bonus.
Thinking they lost a brother bound, and now they got paid for it. So I'm like, did they feel like they just sold another brother into slavery? That's what I was thinking. So like, oh crap, now he's
all
gone.
They didn't just carry one coin sack, right? Didn't they each have one?
Mm-hmm. I think one of them found it first, and then like the next day when they got all the way back, then they all found out all their money was back. So it's like they're afraid that, most likely they're just afraid that they would be seen as like a thief, probably. Like they stole the wheat without paying for it.
Interesting. So yeah,
it made me think that the brothers were afraid, like, oh crap, maybe somehow we just got paid to give to him as a slave. Like, that's what popped in my head.
Secretly bought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, he's done for.
So they go back. They tell Jacob all this stuff. Then they're like, oh, and by the way,
did you notice they bowed down to Joseph also?
Yeah.
Like in the dream.
Like a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Like in the dream.
But
very cool.
But he positioned himself like he was like really harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of like made them bow down. So did he force his own dream to come true?
Maybe. I'm skeptical.
He could have. He could have been like, oh, this is my dream. Watch, I'm going to make this bad boy come true.
Yeah.
So they go back. They tell Jacob what's going on. Jacob refuses to let Benjamin go.
Yeah.
To the point where two of the brothers say that they'll take full responsibility. I don't know which. I can't remember which one.
Reuben said he could have Reuben's sons.
Yeah, Reuben was the one that said
Judah said something. But that's later too, because he sticks to it and doesn't go until they run out of food.
Right.
So how long?
Several months, right? Because
they're just like, oh, he's gone.
They all had full bags of food.
Yeah.
And then they go eat it all. Then when it's time to go back to get more, that's so yeah. Like they weren't even going to go back. Do they not even remember Simeon?
He's just like, oh.
So Jacob didn't really care at all about Simeon because he was like, "You're not going back."
But he just cared that much about Benjamin.
They bound Simeon up right in front of us, Dad. Like they're not going to give him back until we come back with Benjamin.
He said, "I ain't giving up Benjamin." He said, "If I lose Benjamin, I'm gonna die."
Stinks for Simeon.
Yeah.
That's got to be rough, like to be Simeon or any of the other brothers, knowing that you're just like you are not important enough.
Yeah.
It just goes to show he really did love Rachel more because he loved her kids more, even though he had less of them. Mm-hmm. When it comes time where they run out of food, they go back. They take Benjamin, right? If I can remember right.
Yeah, when they go back after Judah finally is like, we gotta go. We ran out of food.
Yeah.
Judah stands up, and I also find it interesting. Reuben and Judah were also like the main ones with stories mentioned of their name personally doing something wrong, and now they're personally the ones like trying to make things right. Like that's pretty cool. It's interesting. So I think they're trying to turn themselves around.
Are they trying to make things right, or are they trying to go back and get their other brother?
Well, they're trying to. They're not trying to be deceitful.
Motivation?
They're not nothing wrong.
No, but if your brother was tied up in Egypt for months...
if my brother's tied up, I'm not offering my kids for my brother. I don't think. That's
maybe
a tough
they're really
one.
close.
Dude, that's a tough one. It's like trolley problems. You know about so it's like brother, kid. Like you gotta pick.
Trolley problems.
Yeah, it's rough.
It is.
But I guess he's not really picking his kid because they're all gonna die if they don't eat.
Do you think like the starvation was what motivated them to go back? Or if they had enough food, would they have ever gone back?
They probably wouldn't have gone back. They go back when they're running out of food.
I guess.
Because it's already been however long.
So they end up going back anyway, right?
I think it was like 2 years. Yeah.
2 years?
I think so.
There's no way they waited that long.
I think so. It was.
I don't know if sticking out.
I think it was in my study Bible. Something about it was 2 years into the famine.
They were 2 years into the famine. That was like towards the end of the book, I think. But either way, they end up taking Benjamin back. Then it's interesting. Joseph, he didn't reveal himself even then. Mm-hmm. He let Simeon go. He brings them up to invite them to his house for lunch. Then he feeds them all.
This is with Benjamin.
Yeah, this is with.
He gives Benjamin extra food.
Yeah, he gives Benjamin 5 times the amount of food he gives.
And money.
That's kind of interesting. Like, did the other brothers not pick up on that? Like, why is Benjamin so favored everywhere we go?
Maybe
like, Dad loves him. This guy loves him.
Maybe it was just he was trying to see if they would say or do anything to Benjamin, which would be crazy. If they did something to Benjamin, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have tested him that way.
Maybe Benjamin had the 10 charisma.
Maybe.
Just like Joseph, right? They were brothers, biological brothers.
Runs in the blood.
So maybe that was their family gift, was they had the charisma. Because, bro, imagine you're sitting at the table with all, like, you got 10 brothers. 5 times the amount of food. That's like they get a pizza to share, and then Benjamin gets 5 pizzas.
What food was it? They're storing up wheat. Was it
Bread?
just wheat?
No, it's probably grains, bread, nuts, honey, spices. You know, all the stuff that like Pharaoh gives them later on anyway, right? So fruit, maybe. I don't know. So he gets 5 times the amount everyone else does. Then they get loaded up again.
Can't be fruit. In a famine?
Pharaoh can grow whatever he wants.
In a famine?
They could have had stored up, maybe.
Fruit?
Back then it had a longer shelf life. All right, maybe not fruit.
Yeah, what were they eating? Nuts and
Meat.
wheat?
It had to be meat. They definitely had cattle, goats.
Okay. Yeah.
They had that
Yeah.
because they were eating the grain. And then so they have this nice meal. Then he loads them back up with food, gives them their money back again. They brought twice the amount back, which was cool. I thought Jacob did right by telling them, like, when they came back, like, take twice the amount of silver, go pay what you didn't pay the first time, and then go buy more. So that was kind of a sign of integrity there that was nice to see.
Character development.
But then here's the plot twist. He tells his steward to put his Joseph.
He gets his brothers intoxicated. Then
I don't remember that intoxicated.
what?
He does? Here,
Yeah.
dude. Show me. Don't get pizza on my Bible. So yeah, I know he loads them up. I don't remember him saying he got them all wasted.
So they feasted and drank freely with him. So that's the end of 43.
This is NIV.
Yeah.
Why does your version say like
It says intoxicated.
drank freely? That's a nice way of saying it.
Drank
like next
freely.
time, like somebody gets
They
pulled
drank
over.
and they got intoxicated with Joseph.
So next time somebody gets pulled over on their way home from the bar,
drinking freely.
they can tell the officer, "No, officer, I'm not intoxicated. I was drinking freely tonight with my friends."
Yeah.
That's interesting. So then Joseph has his steward pack all their bags with food, give them all their silver back, like put that back in their bags, and then take a drinking cup, or whatever it is, and put it in Benjamin's bag without him knowing it. So then he sends them on their way.
In the morning.
They start going home, and then he tells the steward, go catch up with them and search their bags. So then he does, and he's like, hey.
Okay. I don't know what your translation says. Mine says he overtakes them. The steward overtakes 11 guys. What does the steward look like?
Overtakes does not mean physically. It means he caught up to them.
What does
Overtakes.
overtake mean?
Think of NASCAR.
No, they passed
The
him?
the second place car overtook the first place car. It didn't mean he went over and beat them all up.
Yeah, that definitely changes things.
What kind of translation do you have?
It just says overtake. When he overtook them,
Overtakes means you caught up to them and you got ahead of them.
why did he pass him? He just needs to get to him.
No, you got to get in front of them and say, "Whoa,
Stop.
whoa, fellas."
Okay, that makes sense. I was just like picturing this like massive, like
Brawl?
a bouncer. Yeah. like later on, like Legion type. That's literally what I thought.
Steward is
Overtook. And so I imagine they're maybe on camels, whatever they're doing. He's just running, just dead set. I'm gonna fight.
Well, like The Rock.
Yeah.
You thought the steward was
Bigger.
like Dwayne Johnson?
Bigger
than Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. And he just sprinted the whole way, not even out of breath when he catches up to him. And he just like puts them all on the ground. You on the ground. You on the ground. You on the ground. Give me back the silver cup, or give me back whatever he says.
You definitely have an imagination when you read.
Well, I mean, I just
So
read
no,
overtake.
the
I just
steward-
have the overtake definition.
You
wrong.
took that too long. Yeah, too far. He overtook them means he caught up to them, stopped them, and then said, "Hey, you know, is this how you treat the people that are good to you?" Paraphrased. It was it's biblical way of saying it, but and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "I'm going to search all your bags because one of you stole a cup."
Like, yeah, if we got it, you can
Yeah,
take
they're
us
like,
all into slavery or something like that.
yeah. They're like, if we're guilty of that, we'll all be your slaves, and the one who stole it, you can put to death. And they're like, okay, by your words, here we go. So they all put their bags on the ground. And then from the oldest to the youngest, it says they went in order just to make it so that the last one.
Dramatic.
Yeah. So they set it all up, like, pretty skillfully. Manipulated this whole situation. They go through all the bags. All the brothers are like, I told you. Then freaking Benjamin, the little guy, this cup rolls out of the bag. Bloop, 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 bloop.
And then I think they tear... When did they tear their shirts? Did that already happen?
They tear their shirts all the time. But I think it was then. I think when they saw... I don't know, how many shirts did they have?
Yeah, it's got to be expensive, bro. There's a famine going on. You can't afford to be tearing your shirts.
I know. How many did you carry, too? I mean, you're going on this long trip.
They tear their shirts. Benjamin gets taken. He's like, no, you guys don't have to go to prison. You're free. We're just going to take the one guy that did it. We're taking Benjamin. They, I'm pretty sure immediately go to get Benjamin. Their shirts are torn. They travel all the way back with torn shirts. This pizza's good.
Mm-hmm. So imagine the look on Benjamin's face.
They got a Goodwill around? How are they just tearing clothes all the time?
So Benjamin, imagine what he would have said. That wasn't me. That is not mine. Somebody put that there. Mm-hmm. Either way,
oh well. All
of them, pack your crap, we're going back. Mm-hmm. So they all go back, and then they're all pleading with Joseph, all right, we'll be your slaves, or... No, Judah. Judah was the one that said... Was it Judah? I think it was Judah, who said, I promised my dad I would mm-hmm. take Benjamin home. Mm-hmm. I'll be your slave, just let him go.
Yeah.
Because Joseph was like, all right, Benjamin's staying here, the rest of you can go home.
Yeah.
Which is pretty clever, because he's like, yo, bro, I'm going to get my brother to stay here and send the mm-hmm. other mm-hmm. scrubs home. Mm-hmm. And then he decided to spoil it, though.
I forgot to mention when they were on their way back, when he gave them back all the stuff and he was on the way back. Before they left, Joseph tells them not to argue. And I just think it's funny. I think it was then. No, it might have been later, when they go back later.
It's later. I think when he sends them back now. Oh. He tells them not to argue. Because of all the stuff they went through. They're going to argue.
So, is it just hey, inspirational for today? Have a nice day. Don't argue. Or is it don't argue. Someone's going to end up dead.
Reuben, Judah, cut it out.
Yeah,
I know you guys. You guys are aggressive. Yeah, I don't know. That was interesting.
Yeah. Then
he spoils the surprise. Reveals himself to his brothers, not in a perverse way, but in a verbal way. He's like, yo, I'm Joseph.
Is it really revealing to brothers?
If they don't recognize
brothers.
You?
No, what? Your clarification.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's still revealing?
It is, at that age.
You grew up with them and...
At that age, yeah.
It's still revealing?
It's inappropriate, yeah. The fact that you don't see it that way gives me pause.
I mean, if they're brothers. I don't know.
Not
and they're tearing their clothes all the time?
Just shirts. Shirtless is okay between bros.
I don't know. Yeah, so they're big surprise. Hey, I'm your brother.
He tells his brothers...
When does he weep again?
He introduces them to Pharaoh.
He weeps a second time, and he has to actually leave the room.
That's the time.
No? After he... No, because he would just weep with them.
Right before he revealed himself to his brothers.
Yeah, then
he went away, he wept so loud that Egypt could hear him.
And then it even mentions he washes his face.
He had to wash his face.
Which could be the makeup, Egyptian makeup. Oh, crap.
You think his mascara ran?
Yeah. Did they have mirrors back then? How did they put on makeup? Someone else do it for them?
Of course they had mirrors. They might not have been glass. They could have had polished silver or gold that they saw their reflection in. Or water. Pools of water.
How would that work?
You look in the water, you see a reflection.
Oh my God, dang it. Today my face is all curved.
Only if the water's disturbed. So he weeps again.
Comes back and he's like...
Then he comes back... Because I wonder, why he wept. Was it because he didn't know what
he saw Benjamin. No, he saw Benjamin. Benjamin finally came.
So you think he went away and cried because he saw Benjamin?
Yeah. His full brother. Yep.
Why? Why would you cry?
I wouldn't
Why wouldn't you just be happy?
I wouldn't even be happy. But that's just me.
So why did he go away and weep so hard?
He was emotional.
That's not a good enough answer. There had to be something to evoke that emotion.
His brother. He hadn't seen him since, was it 20 years plus?
I guess, but I don't understand why he would cry. Was it tears of joy?
Yeah, yeah.
Sadness?
Yeah.
Mixed?
Probably.
Mixed emotions?
Yeah. You don't think you'd cry? You have an older brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a younger brother.
I'm the youngest.
You think he would cry?
I'm the Benjamin.
Yeah, you think he would cry?
My older brother? No.
He was.
No, he would not.
Y'all are too tough.
No, he'd be happy. Mm-hmm. We'd fist bump, daps. You know? Hug.
Here's your grain. See ya.
I can't picture my older brother going into another room and weeping.
Wiping his makeup off.
Maybe I'm wrong, bro. I don't know.
See, I would cry if it was my favorite brother, but if it wasn't my unfavorite brother.
What if you only have one?
Well, I have two, so I'm just trying to like relate it to my experience. I have two brothers. So if my favorite brother, if that happens.
You have a favorite?
Yeah.
You better hope they don't see this.
I was racking my head this whole time. I couldn't think of anything. I was trying to think of a vague.
The funny thing is that each one is going to think that you're talking about
I was trying to think of a vague comment.
So
like, yeah, he's blah, blah, blah. And it'd be something vague that matches them both. I couldn't think of anything.
They have brown hair.
Kind of. One's darker hair.
There you go.
It looks black, but it might be brown.
So he goes.
I'm actually the favorite. I'm my own favorite brother.
I'm sure you are. That makes a lot more sense.
My favorite brother is myself.
My favorite brother is me. Golly, you're pretty rough.
At work, a lot of times I'll tell people they're my second favorite worker. I'm like, yeah, you're my second favorite employee. And I hope that they ask, and they're like,
So
who's your favorite? I'm like, oh, myself. But I tell everybody they're my second favorite. I'm like, oh yeah, you're all tied. And then I'll wait for someone to like...
You're all tied.
I'll wait for someone to quit, and like, especially if they're like terrible.
Oh,
and then I was like,
favorite.
they were my third favorite.
Third favorite.
Everyone else that's currently working is my second favorite. And then I'm the first favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
I believe, if memory serves correctly, after he tells his brothers who he is, he brings them to Pharaoh. Doesn't he introduce them to Pharaoh and say, like, you guys got to move here?
He tells them basically, like, hey, this is going to happen. I'm going to take you to Pharaoh. Say these things to Pharaoh because he's going to ask you these things.
That's right. Yeah, he said, when Pharaoh asks you what you do for a living, tell him you, like, manage livestock
basically, you're
or
a
something.
shepherd.
Yeah, you're a shepherd. That way you have the land of Goshen, which is outside of Egypt.
It also mentions Egyptians, like, despise shepherds for some reason.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
So, I don't know.
Because then later, when that happens, Pharaoh's like, oh, your best men should watch over my livestock. Who's watching over the livestock now? Why do you hate those people?
Maybe they weren't the greatest.
I'm so confused.
So yeah, it was kind of interesting how Pharaoh was just all on board. Like Joseph is like,
yeah, man, yeah.
Hey Pharaoh, by the way,
your father? Yeah, I'm gonna give you all these things.
Just found 11 of my brothers. Do you mind if the family moves here? Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, you guys are going to get the best land. You're going to get the best of everything.
Mm-hmm. So he basically says everything that Joseph said, and then he adds extra, like, oh, I'm also going to send you with these wagons. I'm going to send you with all these guys. And
yeah, you're going to get wagons for your wives and kids. You got all these cattle. You're going to get all this stuff for your dad. Mm-hmm. Here's the funny thing. He tells them, go home and get all of your family, but don't worry about your stuff, because all the good stuff is here in Egypt.
Yeah,
so he's basically telling them, like, your stuff is garbage. Like, just leave it. Don't even worry about it. Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said it out of, like, conceit or out of, like, we have the best stuff. Like, you don't really need to worry about your stuff because we're going to give you the best of everything. Or if, like, it was like a...
I wonder if it's, like, for some reason in my head I'm thinking, like, Great Depression. And the pictures that I was given... in like films I was given of the Great Depression, everything's run down and dusty. Like
that was the whole Bible.
Like the Dust Bowl?
Was dusty. Everything's in
So in Egypt it's not like
Middle
that.
East.
So it's like, oh, you guys are going through the Dust Bowl, Great Depression, your stuff sucks and it's dusty if you even have stuff anymore.
But Egypt was in the middle of the
worry
desert.
About it.
Everything is dusty. That's why you always hear about
Canaan.
washing.
So I'm saying Canaan is even more run down like that. And dusty
It could be, but I can't imagine it being more dusty than Egypt. Egypt is literally all sand.
Is it dusty or sandy?
It's sandy, but sand is dust. It's
like rock dust.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, but Pharaoh was all with it. Like, yeah, your whole family, everybody can move here. I'll give you the best of the land. Oh, and by the way, what do you guys do? And then they told him, hey, we're shepherds. We do livestock. He said, all right, we're going to put you in Goshen, outside of Egypt. 1, because it's perfect. That's where all the shepherds are. 2, Egyptians hate shepherds. So, you'll have your own little slice of land away from us. Which I'm curious how far away.
You think shepherds hate Egyptians too? It's like a double.
I don't think so.
You don't think when Jacob finally sees his son Joseph and he looks Egyptian, he's not like disappointed, like, oh man, my son, what have you done? Why are you in these decorated clothings? Like, it's just a one-way hate?
I think so.
I don't think so. But I don't know.
What did shepherds have against Egyptians? Were they
What do
persecuted by
Egyptians
them?
have against shepherds? Like, things back then were just
tier
kind
system,
of...
like shepherds were considered like lowly, like peasants, and Egyptians were.
And then the shepherds
like the
just
rulers.
accepted that. They're like, yeah, we're peasants. Yeah,
What else are they gonna do?
we're trash people. I understand.
I don't know, but the Egyptians were like the rulers of the region. I mean, obviously, because they're in Egypt, so they could have just been like, we just don't like the little dirty shepherd people because they're just
Dirty.
and they're shepherds.
Yeah.
And they're people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But Joseph, he stays behind. His brothers go back, right? Because Joseph didn't go with them.
Joseph
did
Joseph did go with them. Yeah.
Yeah, he did because he was the one who like had to line up all of his kids, which was absurd, by the way.
Yeah, it was like depending on your translation, mine with the notes, it ends up saying like something about 70.
He had
and then
70.
The notes says like it could be 75.
Well, he had 33 children with Leah. 33, bro. And then he had
Well, I think
he had 16 with her maidservant, Zilpah.
that's counting the kids.
No, that's direct.
I think it's counting the kids.
I don't think so. I think it's direct descendants. Like, well,
Directly
descendants
from his kids.
would be the kids, but I don't know. I don't think so. It's what was it? Genesis
45?
46. I want to say 46:15 because I made a point to like look at that because it was insane.
Because it mentions Reuben's. The first beginning is Jacob's firstborn Reuben. Reuben's sons, names that I don't know how to pronounce. Simeon's sons, Levi's sons. It counts all.
Look, no. Here, 46:15. These were the sons Leah bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. These sons and daughters of his.
So right before it.
These sons and daughters of his were 33 in all.
Yeah. So right before it is where it's saying Reuben's sons, blah 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 blah. Simeon's sons or Simeon's sons.
That's
blah, blah, blah.
just but
so these the
that's
word
just
these,
informational.
Yeah, the word these is referring to that information. Zebulun's sons, blah blah blah.
Oh,
These
I got
were
you.
so the sons. He's just claiming them as like grandson is a son.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I was going to say, dude, there's no possible way she had 33 kids.
Yeah, but they grew pretty fast. That little.
They
clan.
really did. And then he had, there were 16 with her maidservant, and then 14 with Rachel, and then a handful with Rachel's maidservant.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 70.
But that's not even counting all the daughters.
Well, it says children.
But it doesn't name them. I'm pretty sure it only counts the ones they name. For some reason.
No.
There's other daughters.
Of course there are. It does say, look at the sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Bariah.
Yeah, only the sons.
Their sister was Sarah.
There's got to be more
So
sisters, though.
It calls out
It mentions Dinah and that one. Is that Sarah?
Serah. Sarah?
Sarah.
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 Either way, I mean, it calls...
I think there's only 2 daughters out of 70 people. And before that, it was the sons and daughters came to comfort
No,
him.
there had to be more daughters,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I think there's even more than...
Possibly. But anyway, a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph goes back, gathers the whole family, but he tells his dad, get all your stuff. And then one of the things that was interesting is while they're relocating, it says 2 of Judah's sons died in Canaan. So what did they die of? Like, were they killed by animals?
I have no idea. And interestingly, it wasn't the ones that we learned of earlier. They're mentioned in that genealogy, but I still don't know anything about them.
But it made mention of it, like while relocating. It wasn't like just two of his sons died. It was while they were relocating, two of his sons died in Canaan. So I wonder if...
I think it was mentioning the whole genealogy, but they're just saying they died in Canaan, so they didn't actually come to Egypt.
I think it was during the travel.
I think he died prior.
You don't think anybody could die traveling 250 miles?
They could, but then that wouldn't be in Canaan. That would be along the way of Canaan, not in Canaan.
Canaan, the border between Canaan and the next town over. Bro, there's tons of things. There's illness, accidents, animals. They could have fought and killed each other. Who knows?
That is highly likely. Considering this family.
Yes.
Incredibly likely.
So the whole family relocates to Goshen. And then 17 years later, Jacob dies. But before he dies, and this was interesting as well, before Jacob died, Joseph's two sons were able to sit on his lap. You remember? And then Jacob, and it calls this out. It says, Joseph's sons are sitting in front of him, his youngest on the left and the oldest on the right. And Jacob crosses his hands and then blesses the younger one instead of the older one. And then...
I think Jacob's just a big old troublemaker.
No, but get this. Joseph takes his hand and is like, no, the older one's over here. And he's like,
I know.
He's like, I know. I'm blessing the younger one. The older one is going to do great things, but the younger one...
Even more so.
Which was interesting because it was the same thing that happened with Jacob and Esau.
Jacob was the youngest.
Yeah, Jacob was the youngest. He stole.
He just hates the older siblings.
He's completely against older siblings getting the blessing.
Yeah.
100%.
Or he just really likes brotherly rivalry.
Maybe he likes an underdog story.
I think he likes to just cause ruckus between brothers. He's like, no, this is my favorite. I'm gonna give him a robe.
Yeah, but he knew.
And they try to kill him. He's like, no, this is my favorite. Try to kill this one now.
No, he knew that. He knew that he was dying though. So that was it like just one last.
It's just troublemaker.
One last stir of the pot. I can't see
fun.
Joseph. Bring me your sons. Which one's older? Okay, here.
I think it's funny.
That was interesting though that he tried to correct him and he's like, no.
I'm sure we did on accident, but we skipped over a little bit where basically everyone in Egypt becomes a slave because they can't afford the. Did we skip over that because we don't want to revisit the pyramid conspiracy?
No, let's go back to that because that was another point.
Since everyone was a slave except for Joseph's family.
But how they got there was interesting because
there's a progression.
Joseph was such a good businessman. Remember we talked about that in part 1? Where he stores up all the grain and then he's the one like owns it all. He's selling people back their own grain.
He's such a good businessman. He got slaves, bro.
Yeah. But this is how he did it. He sold so much grain.
Oh, gosh.
Bro, think about this. Just open your brain cap and absorb this real quick.
Yeah.
He sold so much grain. There was no more money left in the land, in the entire land of Egypt or Canaan.
It goes back to what other jobs are there?
I don't know. Slavery? Did slaves get paid?
It's probably a little different back then. It's more like an indentured service that we think of.
Yeah. So,
or they could have like a certain debt that they work off and then they're good to go.
Can you imagine like there is no more money left because you collected it all. Like you sold enough grain to take all of the money. There's no money, like zero. Like that blows my mind. Mm-hmm. Even if we take like Simpsonville. If I'm selling stuff and now there's no more money in Simpsonville, that's insane.
That's a lot of money.
You would probably think like, hey, you guys don't worry about it anymore, okay? We already have all the money. At that point, money becomes worthless, right? Because if there's nothing in circulation, then what value is it?
Mm-hmm. So you gotta trade other things.
Then you gotta trade other things. Mm-hmm. So you trade your livestock.
Then you run out of other things.
And then your livestock runs out. So that the people started trading their livestock. Mm-hmm. They took all the livestock too. So now they have all of the money and all of the livestock in the whole land. Then they start taking people's land. Not taking it, but like trading it. Like we'll take your land, and in return, you farm it.
Mm-hmm. You still work up.
Yep, you work it. 5% of what you grow goes to Pharaoh. You keep the other 95% and live.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, cool. So Jacob, like, not only owns all the money, all the livestock, and all of the land.
All the people.
He owns all the people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're paying him 5% of everything they make. Dude.
It's wild.
The guy's a business genius. Mm-hmm. Like,
kudos and we're not revisiting how the pyramids were made. Conspiracies.
What, with the helicopters?
Could this be it? Everyone's a slave, so you have so many workers.
But why? Just boredom?
I have no idea.
Like after the harvest, they just didn't have anything for the people to do.
You think Joseph was ever in a pyramid?
Maybe buried. No, he wasn't buried in one.
He was put in a coffin, but I think later he gets moved.
But maybe after harvest, when there's nothing else to do, all the people were just like, "Hey, you know what? I don't know. Go build me a triangle."
But first, make me a square.
Yeah.
And then make a triangle out of squares.
Yeah, just keeping them on their toes. Make a square. Okay, now turn it into a very tall triangle.
Dude, I don't know how they were made.
That's it. I think you cracked the case.
Literally everyone is a slave. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or it's got to be.
But he owned everything. So like,
yeah.
So their entire life, it's like living in a snow globe. Their entire life was owned from the food they ate.
You think that was good? Like, you think that was like...
Job security. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. You just do your job, farm your land, give Pharaoh 5%. 5% is a pretty reasonable
It's not a lot.
cut.
It's a lot when you add it up to give to Pharaoh.
Well, when you add up
Pharaoh.
all of the individuals. But for an individual family, if you get a free house, free land...
Is it free if it was yours? Here. You want a Red Bull?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you. Man, so generous. Let me give you 5% of this. Wow. He's so generous. Did you see that? Like, crazy.
So generous that it stays into effect until whenever this was written.
Okay, but imagine. Okay, let's take today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say...
It's a lot. I don't know how to put numbers to it, but it's a lot.
Well, no. We don't have to put numbers to it. Let's say Trump and Elon Musk come to your house and they're like, look, would you give us all of your land, everything you own? You will never have to make another payment again. All you have to do is farm the crops on your land, give us 5%, and you can live happily ever after, not having to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about it, like bills.
We have to be able to trust them, though. It's hard to trust.
Why would you?
It's hard to trust I don't know.
A government entity?
Yeah.
Well, what was Pharaoh? A government entity, and he honored his agreements.
Yeah.
Right.
But back then they didn't have, or I don't think they had the internet. So there's not all these other.
You don't think
thoughts.
They had the internet?
I don't think so. I don't know if those pyramids could have been like antennas and just not powered anymore. I don't know. Yeah, they didn't have the internet, so they don't have access to all these crazy thoughts and yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'd have to consider that. Like if Trump and Musk knocked on my door and went full Doge, and they were like, "Look, we're just gonna get rid of everything. You're gonna work it. You can live."
What does Doge mean?
It's the.
I know Doge is like the Dogecoin.
It's like the Department of like something government efficiency or something like that. Basically, they're gutting like the government and getting rid of inefficiencies. Not to get political, but
I know it's fun. I think it's fun to get political. I like to talk about stuff that are fun.
You like to stir the pot.
I do,
yeah,
but
I know.
but also because I think we should be able to talk about. I'm saying in general. I'm not saying on this podcast. I'm saying people should be able to talk about things and not get
so worked up.
So worked up.
Yeah.
Because I'll make fun of any and everybody. I'll make fun of Trump. I'll make fun of Biden. Who was on that side? Harris. I don't care. Like, no one's gonna be perfect, and I think we should be able to talk about something like that.
Yeah. I mean, we make fun of ourselves, so who cares? Like,
no, I'm perfect. There's nothing to
see
make
right
fun
there,
of.
you just made fun of yourself.
Just make fun of myself. Yeah, so I think it's fun to talk.
Or would you? So you'd rather have all your own responsibilities, figure out your own job. You're responsible for paying all your bills. Rather than having everything in your life covered as long as you just farm the land and give 5% to the government.
It would be hard just because based off of like books, movies, whatever stuff like of losing that government trust one day.
See, I like the idea just for the sake of simplicity. Like, okay, I can just live here and I don't have to do anything but maintain my property.
But is there some things you have that are now not going to be available to you?
Yeah, freedom. That's where I'm getting caught. I don't like the idea of selling my freedom.
Yeah.
So I'd probably turn the offer down.
Yeah.
As much as I like the idea,
You would turn Trump down?
of the simplicity of
He would make so much fun of you.
I wouldn't-
Kristen, you're so dumb. You're the dumbest person I've ever met. I don't know how to do this impression.
What is he, British?
Yeah, that was terrible.
You're the dumbest person.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Tool. Yes, let's avoid the Trump impersonations, but yeah, I think I would choose freedom.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because if you do,
It's the American way.
it is, and it always will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you said, like, okay, everything's covered, but Pharaoh owns you.
Yeah.
I don't like that
I
idea.
don't like it at all.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing freedom.
Yeah.
Going with freedom.
Yeah.
So back to the story. Jacob and his whole family, all the descendants, they move. He gives Joseph's youngest his power blessing.
Power blessing. I like it.
Cross pistols.
Yeah.
Power blessing. Then he dies at the ripe old age of 180, I think it was.
Pretty old.
And then after he dies,
He has to get buried with his fathers.
yeah,
Isaac
Abraham.
Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah. He dies.
Funny. So it's Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebecca, and who else is there? One of his wives. He wants to be buried there, but it's not his favorite wife that's buried there. That's weird.
What are you talking about?
Leah's buried there.
Yeah. Well, he buried Rachel on the side of the road.
That's crazy. That's if it's his
why
favorite.
why would he say like, oh yeah, just go bury me on the side of the road next to Rachel?
That's what I would do. Because I'm actually in love. I'm not going to wait 7 years for her. But I'll go be buried in a ditch. I don't care.
Maybe he was the only one that knew where she was. So like, how would you tell people, go find
No, if he's traveling with people, they're going to be around. They're going to know, oh, this girl, where'd you put this girl when she died?
He could have like walked off like out of sight over a little horizon off to the side of the road.
I'm not going to have a ceremony with his rest of his family?
Back then, so many people died. Like, so many people died.
But they still
probably
weep.
didn't do much of anything.
No,
Yeah, they weep.
For 7 days. That's Jacob's part is mourning 7 days. The Egyptian part is like 40 or 70 days.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something. When Jacob died, it took them 40 days to embalm him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What are you doing for 40 days?
Yeah.
To embalm somebody? Like, I think morticians now do it in like
A day?
like 1 to 2 days.
Yeah.
1 to drain, 1 to fill.
It's probably like some other religious stuff back then that they were doing.
I don't know. Embalm is just...
Also,
Well,
they don't
used
have
to
the same
prep.
tools.
Maybe it took them 40 days to make him into like the super mummy that he became. Right? Because he became the mummy. Before Joseph.
Yeah.
He was like the head mummy and then
Yeah.
with like the little ones.
Yeah.
Because like mummification back then, it was elaborate. Like they remove all the organs, they put them in the
All
jars.
I know is they take their brain out of their nose somehow.
Yeah, that's weird.
It doesn't make sense to me.
I still don't get it. I think there's like...
How do they know they didn't leave any behind? You get like a little snake camera up in there?
They maybe just shake the head and if
What's a
anything
snake camera?
moves.
Yeah. But get back in there.
Yeah. If it sounds like Jell-O in a Tupperware bowl, then,
Yeah.
then they didn't get it all.
Or can you feel it? You probably can't hear it. You probably feel it.
Dude, it's just gross. I don't know, but it's a pretty graphic process. Apparently,
It is. It really
they remove
is.
the organs and then they fill you with spices and all this other stuff, and then wrap you up. Then you come back years later and try and attack Brendan Fraser and his family. And
his family was there too?
Yeah.
I don't remember. That's
his wife and kids and his friends.
I think it was one of my mom's favorite movies when I was a kid.
It was a good one. They made a few of them. They were alright. They're entertaining. They're good for
Mummy Returns.
They're good for an in-flight movie. You know, if you're flying somewhere, they're like great for that.
I've never flown like that. I've been in a plane, but it was like a small plane, and it just like goes up and it comes down.
You've never flown like a long distance that had...
Not to another destination. I left and came to the same destination. Like, it was just like...
What is the point of flying if you're...
Just, it was like a... It was friends, mom's, work, and they had a family fun day or something, and they just took a plane out.
They took you up for a ride.
Yeah.
That was the only time you've ever been in a plane?
Yep.
Dude, you need to get out more. Holy smokes. You've never been in like a commercial plane, like flying from New York to California.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
There's no need. I don't want to go to either one of those places. Maybe California.
Where did you honeymoon?
Destin, Florida.
So you drove?
Mm-hmm.
Goodness.
It's not that bad of a drive. It's a drive.
No, I know, but like the fact that you're probably one of the few people in America.
No, there's a lot.
There's no way.
Especially in the South. I think so.
Really?
Or at least Bible Belt South. I think so.
You think everyone in the South is just a homebody? They don't travel anywhere?
A lot of
most
people.
of their families are here, right?
Yeah.
I get it. Okay.
And we have a lot here. Like, I love this location. Like, growing up, people are like, oh, this place sucks. I want to go to this place. I'm like, go for it. I got the beach if I want to drive to the beach. I got the mountains if I want to drive over to the mountains. I got a little city if I want a little bit of city. But I don't like the city. I'm good. I'm set.
It makes sense.
This place is great.
Like, no travel for work.
No
travel
flight.
for vacation.
No flight.
That's crazy.
At least not yet. I'd like to, but I haven't needed to.
That's wild. Well, there you go. Next time you get the opportunity to take a flight, watch The Mummy on your in-flight movie. So Jacob dies, and then Joseph and his family live in the land, and then Joseph dies at 130 years old, which is interesting, again, because he was saying, like, I know, like, my life has been short. He considered 130 years old to be, like, short-lived.
Was it him or the other one? I think that was actually
Jacob?
I think it was actually Jacob saying
it?
At the time compared to Abraham.
Oh, Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place. So Joseph died at the age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt.
You got any interesting things about these blessings for all these brothers, and some of them aren't actually blessings, it seems like? It's basically like, yeah. My kids suck. It was Simeon and Levi who were the more vicious ones.
I knew it.
Also, what is hamstringing oxen? Is that what your translation says, hamstringing oxen?
Hamstringing?
Yeah.
In what context?
That's what mine said. He said that's what Simeon and Levi would do. For in their anger they kill men, and on a whim they hamstring oxen.
I think that's when they tie their feet together with a rope so that they can't move.
That's sad.
I think. It could be more graphic. Maybe they cut their hamstrings with a knife or something.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
Terrible.
Or hanging him somehow.
Or maybe
by
I'm
the
mixing up
legs.
hog tying.
Hog tying is the...
Hog tying is when you you tie all their hamstring.
I'll Google it.
Google it.
Because I imagine they have their legs like tied up and hung, so then their body's hanging. Like, it's so funny to Simeon and Levi. He says, may I never enter their council, may I never join their assembly. Like, you guys are the worst. And that's a blessing somehow. It's a method of crippling the animal so they cannot walk properly by severing the hamstring tendons.
So it is like cutting them. That is
sad. On a whim, they're just like, I'm going to do this.
That is pretty evil. We have a very interesting story of Joseph, 110 years old. That's not too far of a stretch from what people get today.
Yeah, some people can reach 110.
Interesting that Jacob lived 70 years more than Joseph, and Joseph was in good shape. He lived in Egypt with all of the finest food and lodging and everything else. Why do you think he lived less? Like a lot less.
It just seems that's the way the human body is going. Like after the flood, people are...
In one generation, Jacob's 170 and Joseph's 110? There's no way.
What are the ages
180?
of Abraham and Isaac?
That's the story of Joseph. We're going to have to wrap this up. Hey, what would you give this pizza? 1 to 10. 10 being the best.
And it can't go over 10?
Would you take this one over 10? It's pretty good. I'd give it...
I'll say...
I'd give it at least a 9.
Yeah. I'm thinking 9.
The barbecued bacon, bourbon, chicken, bacon, turkey, caramelized onion.
Can we do decimals? Are we allowed to do like 9.2?
Yeah. You gonna go 9.2?
I'm gonna go 9.2.
I'd agree with that. I could eat this pizza like every day. It's super good. We're gonna end.
Yeah, I can't find that.
We're gonna end here. Yeah,
I don't know how.
It's in there. Look it up.
Oh, you remember the last time we were talking about what God does good, or what the devil does for evil, whatever? It's,
What the devil planned for evil, God turns around for good.
Is what we were thinking of actual Joseph's words, where he says here,
No.
verse 20, you planned evil against me, God planned it for good to bring about the present result.
That's a second mentioning. Like that's an example that's mentioned in the Bible of that, but there's an actual scripture.
And we still haven't found it.
We'll find it. It's in there. Read your Bible.
I do. I've read it once. I'm good.
Well, it's good talk. A lot of stuff to cover around Joseph. And goodness, 11 brothers. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, do you think it was hard for them?
Can you not imagine things?
It's hard for me to imagine that many brothers.
Oh, I can imagine anything.
Well, you have a good imagination.
All you gotta do is just think about it. Yeah.
Nah.
It's one of my favorite sayings people say. Can you imagine? Yeah.
Can you not?
Can you believe that? I can believe a lot. I think I could probably believe it if you...
But for Jacob to uproot all of those family members...
Can you believe this happened? Did it? Yeah. Yeah, I can believe it then if it happened.
Is it a lot of effort for them to uproot the entire family and move 250 miles?
If they don't take all their stuff, it's not as hard. Maybe.
Do you think they took all their stuff, or they left it because they knew they were going to get good stuff in Egypt?
They seem to be
They took the essentials?
They seem to try to do what they needed to do and get back on track of doing right, or at least not doing wrong. So if they're saying to do it, I think they're okay, we'll listen to them.
So I guess the moral of the story is, if Joseph's brothers didn't sell him into slavery, their whole
Everyone
family would have died.
The moral of the story is if you have to have favorites. If they didn't have favorites, then the brothers wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's another... Yeah, because the brothers wouldn't have done that. So we're looking at the root cause now.
Yeah, kids. Read your Bible. You may or may not be the favorite. Figure it out.
If you are, you know it. When you're the favorite, you know who you are. And when you're not, you also know it.
Do you think you're a favorite?
100%.
And
my brother and sister would agree.
Yeah, my brothers would agree I'm the favorite also.
That's why I got beat up all the time.
Oh, dang.
Not by by family.
Yeah.
By my older brother. By my Reuben. Yeah. David. I called you Reuben. Nah, you're good, Rob.
One brother, he could be a semi-favorite just because he got a kid. I'm about to have a kid, so you got to get back on. I got to stay on top.
Yeah, man, it's a contest, remember? There's nothing you can do to either become or not become the favorite. It's natural selection.
Yeah, I think favoritism is, natural. In the workplace, real life. I think it's part of real life, yeah. So teach your kids if they're the favorite or not. You got to learn one way.
All right, well, we got to finish this pizza and this Red Bull and keep going.
Oh, yeah. I'm out, so.
Well, podcast over.
I think favorites are natural.
Parents have favorites.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
This pizza's great.